All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today in this lesson, we're going to be talking about the Louisiana Purchase and the War of 1812. Now, some of you guys may have heard of the War of 1812, some of you guys haven't. I would suggest a lot of you guys haven't because, again, this is something that not many people talk about, not many people teach about this, and not many things are mentioned in history books about the War of 1812. And you're going to find out why. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So there's your objective. Again, we're going to analyze Jefferson's effort to lower the government's power, especially the presidency. You're going to see how bad that goes. And then we're going to examine how the War of 1812 started and basically was the Louisiana Purchase a smart move to do or not. Okay. So here is your warm-up picture. Basically, it's asking you, what do you think this artist is trying to say about America from when the first settlers came to where we're at in this point in history? Okay, so look at the picture, look at the progression from left to right, and tell me what you think. Okay, what things you see in common, what things are different, things like that. And remember, we're talking about the country, the nation, America. We're not talking physical. So please do not put something like, it's getting taller. No, a nation does not get taller. Okay. Think of it in that form, metaphor, not literal. Okay. We're not literally talking about the Uncle Sam character. We're talking about America figuratively. So, and that's what this Uncle Sam represents, America, figuratively, metaphorically. Okay. All right. So in 1800, Spain gave Louisiana back to France. Now, thing is, in France, there was this emperor, right? His name is Napoleon Bonaparte. Okay. And this guy had no desire for land in America. His desire, his want was to conquer basically all of Europe. So Germany, Switzerland, and places like that. Yeah, he wanted it all. Austria wanted it all. Um, but the thing is, he wanted more. He wanted England and Russia and things like that. So his desire was not with America, but rather Europe. And thing is, he needed money. So he's like, well, what can I sell? Guns, cannons? No, I can't sell those things. I need them. So he looked at the Louisiana territory and said, hey, America. Hey, look at it. Check this out. Check this out. Now, I could easily sell this land to Spain, maybe Britain. He wouldn't have. Russia, possibly. But tell you what, since I like you guys, I'll sell it to you guys. I'll sell the Louisiana territory to you guys. Now, remember, Jefferson promised, I'm going to lower the power of the president. I'm going to make the government weak. Well, now the government needs to be powerful in order to get the money from taxes and things like that so they can buy this land. And this is something that Jefferson could not pass up. He was like, this is amazing land. Look how much land that is. That's huge. So basically he raises the power of the presidency, raises the power of the Congress, and gets it approved. So on April 30th, 1803, Congress approves the purchase of the Louisiana Territory. Now, France owed the United States $3.75 million. So they said, okay, how about this? We wipe that off and basically we pay you just 11.25. So that way it makes it altogether $15 million. So Napoleon's like, that sounds good. I'll take it. Again, he didn't care. He wanted to conquer Europe and he needed money. So $15 million what you'll offer me? Fine, I'll take it. Okay. And with just that, just a stroke of the pen, the United States doubled in size. Now, the next president come up is James Madison. And when he became president, he basically inherited a mess. Britain and America started having some issues again. Okay. Now, what the British would do was basically capture American ships and do this thing called impressment. Impressment is when you basically force people to work for you, you know, some servitude in some way. In their case, it was to join the British Navy. And they would offer them, hey, either you join us or we toss you overboard and you are just floating in the Atlantic Ocean. And a lot of these guys, they were veteran seamen. They knew, hey, the chances of another boat coming through here, slim to none, you know. And they knew the odds of you surviving out in the middle of the ocean, no food, no water that's drinkable, no shade from the elements, you know, you're going to die. So a lot of them joined. Some did decide to jump overboard. Okay. The other thing was that the Americans try to ruffle up some people's feathers and get them to be anti-British by basically saying, "Oh, I heard that the Native Americans only attack us because the British people tell them to. They spread these false lies about us. They make them think that we are these horrible people, that we do these terrible things, you know, when in fact, yeah, some of the settlers have crossed into native territory and basically set up a home, set up camp, and it's like, no, that's our land, that's sacred land. You're basically chopping the trees down and doing all this stuff. No, you know. Now, this incident was happening already before Madison. So when Jefferson was president, he tried to hurt Britain through economic terms. Now, this type of economic pain that they try to inflict on one another, this is called sanctions. Okay, they try to hurt the other country with these, like stopping them from getting lumber or fresh water or cotton, things like that. But the thing is, the British economy when Jefferson was president was still very strong. The United States wasn't. So it hurt us more than it hurt them. It's kind of like this. If you ever had a teacher you didn't really like, and you're like, well, you know what? I hate that teacher. I'm not going to do their work. You're not hurting the teacher, you're hurting yourself. That's basically what was happening. Now, when Madison became president and he started trying to hurt Britain economically with these sanctions, it actually worked because now the United States economy was a little bit better and Britain was going through some economic trouble. So Britain decided, you know what, we're going to send some representatives to America to see if we can stop these sanctions and see if we can come to uh, an understanding. So that's what happened. These delegates went on a boat, crossed the Atlantic, went to America, and when they go to the Congress, they're like, "Hey, we want to talk to you guys about stopping the sanctions and this economic pressure you're putting on us." And the American Congress is like, "Oh, oh, you guys haven't heard, have you? Oh, yeah, you guys wouldn't know. Huh. See, here's the thing. We declared war on you guys like a couple days ago. Yeah, so technically, you are enemies on American soil. Yeah. And the British delegates are like, oh, okay. Well, thank you for letting us know. We'll just get back on our boat and we'll let our people know that we're at war with you guys. All right. Okay. See you later. It's the way it happened. So the War of 1812 begins. At the beginning, the U.S. Navy is fighting off the British ships, at Lake Erie, Lake Champlain, and people are feeling like, yeah, we're Americans. We're kicking the crap out of the British again. We did it during the Revolution. We're doing it now. The War of 1812. Woo! That didn't last too long because what happened was the British did not stop. They just kept coming and coming. Eventually, they had troops on American soil marching towards Washington, D.C. Now, August 23rd, 1814, uh, the British troops are in Washington, D.C., and they actually set fire to the Capitol building. Okay. Now, the day before, August 22nd, President Monroe leaves the White House to meet up with his generals. Because remember, he's the commander in chief, he is in charge of our army. Okay. Now, when they set fire to the Capitol building, they then make their way to the White House. Now, the people who were in the White House at that time basically scattered, they left. Um, However, one of the most famous stories from this war was from the First Lady, Dolly Madison. Before she leaves the White House, before she really actually really takes off, she goes back to the White House and gets the portrait of George Washington and basically leaves all her stuff behind, her dresses, her jewelry, all that stuff. She leaves that behind and she takes the portrait of George Washington. So if you ever go to the White House and you go to on the tour, you can ask the person on the tour. I'm sure they'll point it out, but you can ask them, "Hey, where's the portrait of George Washington that Dolly Madison saved?" And they'll tell you. They'll show you. Oh yeah, it's right over here. It's all along the tour, things like that. Okay, but yeah, that's what she did. So August 24th, the British make it to the White House and they basically go right in and nobody's there. They go through the whole White House. They're like looting things, taking jewelry, taking the president's nice clothing. Um, the commander's like, hey, there's food, eat it, share with your people and things like that. So these guys are eating out the presidential silverware, stuff like that. Some of them take it as prizes. So once they loot the White House, basically they burn it. They toss some torches in and they burn it, just like they did the Capitol building. Now, here's the thing: the White House is primarily made of stone. Okay, so it's not gonna didn't burn down and crumble to the ground, things like that. No, but the thing is, stuff like furniture, rugs, drapes, clothing, you know, desks, things like that. Those burned. Okay, those things did burn. Another thing a student have asked me in the past was, so if I go to the White House and I can see where the place was burned, um, the White House has been renovated, you know, quite a bit since 1814. So what used to be like the walls, the original walls, a lot of them have been taken down and removed and stuff like that. Um, but I'm sure there are some original walls, roofs, and things like that, ceilings. So if you ever do it on the tour, they probably tell you like, yeah, this is the original roof, so this section was burned and things like that. So okay. Now, September 13th, 1814, the British bombard Baltimore. And I mean bombardment. I mean they bombard it. They shoot cannons from the ships as far as the cannon can go, and they're nailing buildings, just bussing them and leveling them. They do this all day, all night, up until the next morning. Okay, they basically stop. Now, on these ships, there are American prisoners. And one of these guys who was on the ship was name was Francis Scott Keyes. He was a poet and he saw Baltimore demolished, but he did see an American flag still waving. Everything else was leveled, but the American flag was still up waving. And that's where he wrote the Star Spangled Banner, which is our national anthem. And if you hear the words, you're like, oh, that makes sense. It says, "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight last gleaming?" So in dawn time, early morning, "whose broad stripes and bright stars fought through the perilous night?" The flag. While the bombs were going off, the flag survived. You know, so that's what he's talking about. Okay. All right. Now, December 24th, 1814, basically the United States and Britain try to come to an agreement, and they do with the Treaty of Ghent. Okay. Now, here's the interesting thing. Under the rules of war, when a country or whatever it is takes over territory, they get to claim that as their own because they've conquered that area. That's their land now. But under this treaty, basically Britain said no, you can have that land back. They could have easily taken a lot of land from the United States and claimed it as their own, but they said no, that's your guys. You can have it back. This is very, very suspicious, because again, this is something that doesn't really happen like at all during war. When one side is winning and they have an agreement for peace, basically it's like, hey, I took over this territory, it's mine, you know. Now, here's another weird thing about this war. It actually increased our nation's prestige. A lot of countries were like, wow, they went against Britain twice, Not many people did that. The other thing is it drew a sense of patriotism in Americans. People are like, yeah, we're Americans. Woo! Why are you celebrating? Woo! We went to toe to toe with Britain and we lost. Yeah, but we still, we we fought them. Woo! Yeah, we fought and we lost. Our Capitol building was burned. Our White House was burned. Why are you so happy? Because we're Americans. Yeah, we fight. Yeah. And this was some of the Federalist people were like, are you guys dumb? Do you not realize that we lost? We really have lost. Britain could have easily taken our land. We lost this war. And you're happy? You're celebrating? This makes no sense. Now, this is where politics come into play. And these Democratic Republicans basically flipped it, telling Americans, look at, if these Federalists, they didn't want war. See, we would have been taken completely over, uh, you know, but we fought. See, yeah. So, yeah. See, so these Federalists, since they didn't want war, we could have been completely taken over by Britain. Yeah. See, but these guys are sissies. They don't want to fight, and yeah. Us, we fought. Yeah. So this turned the tables on the Federalists, and people saw the Federalists as weak and like, um, like how can I say, like they shouldn't be running this country. There was no faith in the Federalist Party, so it almost basically completely destroyed and ruined the Federalist Party. And again, that's how politics works sometimes. People will flip facts to make the other side look weak, vulnerable, or that they shouldn't be in charge. Just the way it is. All right, so here are your two questions. All right, the first one says, and this one I want you to really think about this, okay? Why do you think the British decided not to take that land from us in the treaty? They had every right to take it, but they said no. No, we will not take that land. So think about what could, like, somebody who they defeated you in something, you promised this. Now, we if you beat me, I'll do this, and all of a sudden they beat you and they're like, no, 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 it's okay. Why would they not want that? You guys made an agreement and they say, no, we don't want that no more. What could be some possible things? Same thing with Britain here. What could be some possible things that they could, you know, why they would do this? Okay. The second question is a lot easier for you to answer. Okay. But the first one, I want you to really think. The second one is this. Remember, Jefferson promised, when I'm president, I'm going to lower the power of the presidency and government, when in fact, he basically doubled the power of the presidency and the government. So, my question to you is this: should a president be accountable for not keeping their campaign promises? So when a president says, oh, when I'm president, there's going to be no taxes and no one has to pay taxes at all. Well, now you have to worry about how are we going to pay our military? How are we going to pay police officers and firemen and things like that, teachers, if we don't collect tax money? So should we hold those people accountable for making those promises? Or should it be like, no, they had no idea. They thought this is how government worked and things like that, and they find out that's not how it works. They should get a pass. What do you think? Should they be held accountable or should they be given a pass? What do you think? All right. So once you've answered that, basically you're done with this lesson. So you guys have a good day. You take care. Hopefully you learn something new. All right. But you guys stay safe. Okay. I'll see you guys later. I'll see you in class.